Hi and welcome. This week I'm doing a short video on a pair of motorcycle wheel stands. I bought these on eBay recently. They cost me around $93 Australian delivered. I just thought I'd do a short video on what they're like and perhaps give you an idea of what the quality is for something at that purchase price. I'm sure they're sold on eBay under a variety of different brand names. This particular pair was sold under the Advin brand name in Australia, but I'm sure they're available elsewhere in the world off eBay under a variety of brand names. They are, of course, a Chinese-made product, and once I get them out of the box, I'll show you the assembly, and we'll get an idea of whether they're actually a worthwhile buy. Well, here are all the parts for the rear wheel stand. We've got our wheels, nuts and bolts, the two side frames, and the main frame here. Now I should point out that the main frame is a different width for the front axle stand than for the rear axle stand, and it doesn't actually mention that in the instructions, so it's really easy to assemble the wrong frame onto the wrong stand. Now I am actually quite impressed with these swing arm supports here. They're actually moulded rubber over and they pivot, and they really look like they do a good job of avoiding any scratching or damage to your swing arm when you actually lift the rear of your bike. So let's start with fitting on these side rails. Now this actually requires a 13mm spanner. I'll put the other one on. And our washer. It actually does come with nylock nuts for everything, so it's not going to come loose once it's tightened. Next we'll fit our wheels. Just want to do these up firm and then just back them off a bit so that the wheels will spin freely. Now we'll do the other side. And you can see you can actually adjust this, so you can adjust for the width of your swing arm quite nicely. So let's try this out on the bike. Okay, let's give this a try. Of course, this is a lot easier with two people. You've got someone to hold the bike for you while you do this, but I'm going to attempt to do it single-handedly. So I'll just hold onto the bike, slip it under, and that's nice and stable. Quite happy with that. Well, here we have the parts for our front wheel axle stand. We've got the main frame here, which, as I said earlier, is narrower than the one for the rear stand, so you don't want to get them arse about. These are the two side frames, our four wheels, nuts and bolts, and the two fork supports which go into the stand. So I'll mount the side rails onto the stand first. Again, we can get nylock nuts so that the fittings won't come loose in use. Now, there doesn't appear to be a left and a right on these. They seem to be symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which one goes where. Now we'll fit our wheels. And now we'll fit the actual fork supports. Now you notice that they're not symmetrical. The longer side appears, according to the instructions, to go to the front. I guess that's to allow it to sit in a natural position to support your fork. I don't know. Okay, now we'll give it a try. Now I did find, because I've got particularly wide forks on this bike, that with the springs in the position as suggested on the instructions, it was really hard to get this to sit properly on the forks. So I've just moved the springs to the outside because the width of the stand is nearly just perfect as is for my particular Benelli. So I'm just going to adjust this manually. That one in. Make sure they're both sitting okay, and they seem to be. Yep. Let's give this a lift and see what it does. There's actually quite a bit of effort required to lift that. I think this actual frame could be a bit longer, would make it a lot easier to support and lift it. But it's a really solid support. There's no wobble, so and there's certainly plenty of room to get the axle out, which is really the only issue you might have with this style of front stand, is if this wing here was a little bit high, I wouldn't be able to get this axle out. But lifting the front end of this particular Benelli is really hard. You can't jack it up under the engine. You really have to hang it from the roof, which is what I've been doing in the past to get the wheel out. This will make doing a wheel change a lot easier, I think. So in conclusion, I'd actually say this is quite a good buy. The steel is of a substantial diameter, and certainly the construction is robust, the welding is good. I'm impressed with these rubber overriders on the swing arm supports here, and the rubber that's mounted on these fork arrangements that hold your front forks up off the ground. The spring arrangement here didn't really work quite well for my Benelli because it's got quite wide front forks, but you know, I guess you can do what you like with that just to make it work for your particular bike. There's certainly plenty of adjustment in this rear lifter to suit a wide variety of different swing arm widths. So, you know, so that you can get a small motorcycle off the ground, like my little Gilera, which is just a 350 motorcycle, and it's got quite a narrow rear tyre in it. So there's no issues lifting that, and certainly I've also tried it on a Benelli, and which has quite a wide rear tyre, and I had no issues lifting that off the ground either. So all in all, actually quite a good buy. One thing I've just noticed right at the very end is that I've actually put these in back to front, so I'll have to whip those off and swing them around, and I've managed to do it on both of them too. That's the trouble when you're doing stuff for the camera. You're actually paying attention to the recording and not what you're actually doing, so you do actually make a few mistakes. Now I have also seen the same stands or very similar stands in the motorcycle shops locally here. They usually sell for around $60 each. So buying them online is certainly cheaper. That's not always the case with eBay, I found. It's always worthwhile to check locally first, because quite often it is actually cheaper to buy locally than some of the so-called bargains on eBay. They're not always bargains. Well, that's about it for this particular video, and I'll catch you next time.